The plan is simple. I just want to go here to here. But how do we do that? Now, going from yellow version to scarlet version is a lengthy process, and you might think it's impossible, but I'm no stranger to doing weird things on this channel, so of course, I'm gonna try to make this happen. Now, one issue with transferring up Pokemon from older games is you have to go one generation at a time until you reach Pokemon Home, where you can send your Pokemon to any Switch games as long as it meets the criteria of said game. For now, though, we have to start with the basics and go from yellow version to Crystal. Wow, you can't see that at all. Your friend is not ready? It's me. I am my own friend. Okay, apparently, there's different cables. So the one I have is for the Game Boy Advance. And even though we're playing on Game Boy Advances, we need to use the original Game Boy ones. Oh! Wow, it worked! What if I talk to me? What if I talk to myself? What does it say? Exclamation point. On the Crystal, we're just trading a Bellsprout. Blastoise for Bellsprout. Oh, there's my Blastoise from my Yellow Oak Challenge. There he is, my Blastoise. Wow, with a Bitterberry. Oh, I forgot about that. When you transfer a Pokemon from Gen 1 to Gen 2, they have an item sometimes. Cool. Now, next step we have to do is we have to go to this game. Actually, not this game. First, we have to go to this game. So far, we only completed step 1 of the video, going from generations 1 to generation 2, and we already hit a roadblock. How do we go from here to here? Good question. I don't have the answer. But PaPaSea, how are you going to transfer from Crystal to Ruby and Sapphire? It's impossible. Shut up, Lydon. You're not even real. So far, we were able to trade from Yellow to Crystal. No problem. That's easy. You can do that with a time capsule. Perfect. Next, we have to go from Crystal to Ruby, which again sounds simple. Maybe there's a time capsule. No, not possible. You cannot go from Crystal to Ruby to Sapphire to Emerald to Fire Red to Leaf Green. None of them. Not possible. Now, you might be thinking, how do we go from here all the way to here? There's no direct line. We have a lot of stops along the way. Now you may be thinking, what if you take your Crystal save file and you put it on the 3DS Virtual Console? See? 3DS Virtual Console copy of Crystal. Then you take that and put this into Pokemon Bank. That would work. It would require some cheating, I guess you could say. However, that does not work because we skipped too many generations. We skipped generations 4, 5, and 3. Which, you know, we can't just skip all those generations. I want this Blastoise to go through every single game possible. So, what do? What we have to do is we need this, which might look like Pokemon Ruby, but this is not Pokemon Ruby. This is PokeTransporter GB. Did Professor Tree make it? No, I have no idea how to do this. I'm not that smart. Somebody else made it. I'll link in the description. Basically what this is a fan-made software. I don't know why I'm pulling this. This isn't even a microphone. This is a fan-made software that allows people to trade from Generation 2 to Generation 3 directly. Is it cheating? Is it legitimate? Look, it works. I don't know how else you expect me to do this, but this is the longest part of the video. We have to go from here to here, and then from the rest, should be smooth sailing. Asterisk on the should. It took me longer to set up this whiteboard and tape everything than it did to explain everything. This is PokeTransporter GB made by the Gears of Progress. It allows users to transfer over Pokemon from the Generation 1 or 2 games to Generation 3 cartridges, and they even made it feel like an actual official software with an interface showing Professor Fennel, and they even added a custom cutscene in Ruby version where Looker helps you get your Pokemon transferred over, and I don't even understand how this was possible. I had a little bit of trouble setting this up, but I was able to get PokeTransporter GB onto this bootleg Ruby cartridge with my GB operator so I could actually do this. Honestly, I didn't expect that to work so easily at all. Now, once it's set up, Professor Fennel explains to us what we have to do while we have another console with a Generation 1 or 2 game connected to it. You also have to use the original Game Boy link cable. You can't use the Game Boy Advance link cable. There's a very important distinction that I did not know until this video. You then pick a box from your Game Boy Pokemon game you want to transfer over, swap out the PokeTransporter cart for your Generation 3 Pokemon cartridge, and bam! Your Generation 1 Pokemon is sent over to your Generation 3 Pokemon box. It's even removed from your Gen 2 game, which is kind of cool. I can see some arguments saying that this Pokemon isn't technically legit as this isn't official software, but at the end of the day, this Blastoise is just a file, and all this app did was transfer a file to a different game. It's a bit quirky, but now let's see how our Blastoise fares in the GBA era of Pokemon. There he is. My Blastoise. Have to send him out in battle. You already know. Come on, Blastoise. Blastoise's back sprite looks weird in Gen 3. Why is he standing like that? Now for the next step. Since I'm insane and I want this Pokemon to go to every possible game it can up until Scarlet and Violet, we have to go from Ruby version to Coliseum. And a good thing I have 2 GameCube set up to do that easily. Why is slot 1 on Ruby just empty? Shouldn't that be the Blastoise? So here's a weird thing I found out about Pokemon from the Poké Transporter GB as well as Pokemon Coliseum. For whatever reason, Pokemon Coliseum has a very strict legality check when it looks at Pokemon, and it just doesn't see any Pokemon transferred over from the Transporter GB app as legit, and just shows this blank space instead of a Pokemon, which is really weird. I don't know if this will cause issues later down the line, but I guess we can find out later on when we transfer over to Generation 4. Now, since I want this Blastoise to go to as many games as I possibly can, I decided to trade it over from Ruby version to my copy of Japanese Fire Red so we can go back to the Kanto region to see if being sent to a different language game would make anything different or possibly mess anything up. Blastoise's name got truncated to just Blast, but that happens in Japanese Pokemon games as they only allow 5 letters for nicknames and they see Blastoise as a nickname because it's in their language. So once we transfer over Blastoise back to an English name, its name should be Blastoise again. Also, the reason why I'm using my Japanese copy of Fire Red is because my English copy of Fire Red is currently undergoing a challenge that involves going through the Elite Four 200 times, and for some reason, like an idiot, I just saved in the middle of the Elite Four, and I didn't want to beat it off stream or off camera because I streamed this entire playthrough on Twitch, link in the description by the way. So we're with the Japanese game, which worked out. Then from Fire Red, we can trade over to Emerald version, which was our last stop in the 3rd generation of Pokemon. Now we can take out our Nintendo DS, struggle a bit with the cartridges for a bit because I didn't realize I had a copy of Platinum in there already, and go from Generation 3 to Generation 4. Initially I wanted to send Blastoise to my Pearl version, but it was saying that I had to wait 24 hours to transfer over Pokemon, and I didn't want to do that. The Generation 4 Pokemon games are really weird, and they don't like it when you change your system's clocks, and they lock you out of things if you do so. And even if you play the same game on different consoles, the game thinks that you're changing your clock's time. And since I have a ton of DSs that I play on all the time, I mess this up quite a lot on my Generation 4 games, which is a big reason why my Pokemon Soul Silver Shiny Badge Quest is done exclusively on my blue DSi XL. You also have to wait 24 hours every time you transfer over 6 Pokemon Generation 4, which is quite annoying, and since I didn't want to wait 24 hours, I tried transferring over Blastoise to Soul Silver instead, and it lets me, even though I'm playing on a different console. I don't really understand Generation 4, but hey, it worked, so I'm not complaining. The weird thing is we have to transfer over 6 Pokemon at once and can't just do one at a time, so I pick a bunch of random Pokemon along with Blastoise, like this legit Yvet Mew by the way, then head over to Pal Park in Fuchsia City to reclaim our Blastoise in Generation 4. It's back in Kanto once again, and there's still a lot more travel to be done. I don't really understand why it says it's from Johto. Maybe it's because it's transferred over from Crystal version and not Yellow version that it does that. Honestly, I don't really know, but whatever, it worked, and for now, let's go on over to Generation 5. Okay, I lied. Before going to Gen 5, we make a quick pit stop in Pearl version because I want Blastoise to see the glorious Sinnoh region before I force it to experience the Sinnoh region in 3D on the Switch, which unfortunately isn't as good as the 2D version. And now finally, our Blastoise buddy is going to Unova. The DS download play thing was cool to transfer Pokemon in Generation 5, but we had to play this weird annoying minigame to transfer our Pokemon, where the Pokemon jumped around these bushes and we had to throw a Pokeball at them at the right time to reclaim them. It was a little difficult to get a hang of at first, but they give you a lot of time to do it, so you have plenty of time even if you mess this up. Where my Blastoise at? This is him? Johto? Yup, this is him. Johto, OT Billy. Torrent ability. Wow. Next step, and this is crucial because everything gets way simpler from here. We go from here to here. Oh, that did not work at all, but you know what? Oh, my mic fell too. You know, that barely worked, but I'll never get tired of that. So now we gotta work with the 3DS. And I know what you might be thinking, PaPaSea, don't you have a 3DS capture card? Can't you just use that? Yes, but that doesn't have Pokemon Bank, and this does. And I don't know how to get Pokemon Bank since the shutdown, and this has it, so I'm just gonna use this, and we're gonna record with the camera. I was a bit nervous that it might not transfer over to Pokemon Bank, seeing as it didn't work going to Coliseum, and I assume Pokemon Bank has stricter checks, but we'll see how that works soon. We also have to set up the Poké Transporter app on the 3DS to transfer over from Generation 5, but I had an issue updating it, so I did whatever it took to fix it. Don't ask what this is. Nintendo, if you're watching, I don't know what this is. Now, even though the 3DS servers are shut down, you can still access Pokemon Bank, and it's now free, which is really cool. With the app updated, we can send Blastoise to Bank, then to my copy of X version, so we can see Kalos and be in 3D since Coliseum said no to that. Sorry, Blastoise. In X and Y, it still says it's from Johto version, but still passed through all the Pokemon Bank checks, which is pretty nice. But that's enough for Kalos, you're going to Alola, Blastoise. Okay, actually, I lied. First, you're going back to Hoenn in Omega Green Alpha Sapphire, where you look exactly the same as you in X and Y. Honestly, I didn't really need to do this, but I wanted Blastoise to touch as many games as possible, and here it is, Blastoise from Yellow version, now in Omega Ruby. Cool. Okay, but now for real, Blastoise, you're going to Alola. There we go. Bank 1. Gonna put you right in box 1, Blastoise. And we can save. We can send you out in Sun and Moon. You're actually going to Alola, and this is going to be the last time we're on a DS system. I forgot what box we put it in already. There it is. Box 1. Blastoise. Okay, so the name isn't all caps anymore, by the way. That was out of frame. I'm sorry. But yeah, the name isn't all caps anymore, I realized. OT and Trainer ID look the same. Blastoise. Looking exactly the same as it did in X and Y. Alright, enough of that. Let's put you back into Bank, because now you're going to the Nintendo Switch. I don't know exactly where you're going in the Switch, but you're going somewhere. That finishes up the 3DS era of Pokemon, so we can finally move to Pokemon Home and the Nintendo Switch, but there was a small hiccup. I don't really know how to do this from Bank to Home, from Home to Bank. I'm just gonna start it up and see what happens. Okay, so 3DS, looks like what I want to do. Are you kidding me? I have to pay money for this? On an unrelated note, I will take this moment to thank our channel members. I don't do this a lot, but I probably should. If you want to become a YouTube channel member, it supports the channel. That's great. It allows you to pay for dumb things like a year of Pokemon Home, which is $16 for some reason. Just like I can transfer a Pokemon from Yellow version all the way to Scarlet and Violet. And hopefully this video is not a 10 out of 10, because 10 out of 10 videos make me sad. And a lot of times videos I spend a lot of time on are 10 out of 10, like the Coliseum one. But if you're a channel member, you can offset that sadness by making me feel like I didn't completely waste my purchase of $16 a year for this one video. Oh my gosh, there he is. I don't know why I'm pointing the camera at the screen when I'm also screen recording, but there's Blastoise from Yellow version. How do I get him here? Well, first I gotta go there. Okay, well, apparently you're not going to Kanto. Apparently this is a lie. So I guess we're going to Sword and Shield instead. Is that it? Is this it? I think this is you. Why can't I see like your summary? Well, let me replace you with this Blastoise. Check summary. There he is. Blastoise from Yellow version in Sword and Shield. Lacks nature from the Johto region, which is just not true. Here, let's fight this Pokemon and see. There is a Swirlix. And Blastoise. Go for Water Gun. Apparently Bubble doesn't exist in this game. Wow, I have animation. Why do I have animations off in like every game? It's so boring. I'm sure there was a reason for it, but good job, Blastoise from Yellow version. There he is. How do I get off this bike? Oh. Why are you so slow? Look at him. He's here. Alright, well, enough of that. Let's put you back into the PC. How do I access the PC? There he is. There's the Blastoise from the Johto region, which now likes sour food. Seems to have traveled all the way across space and time itself to join me. It quite literally did, actually. Multiple times. It literally went through a time capsule that no other Pokemon in this game has gone through. Alright, let's bring you onto the party. There he is. A little bit faster than he was in Sword and Shield, maybe. Angry about something. Blastoise probably angry for having a long day. You woke up this morning in Yellow version, and now you're in BDSP. Let's get into a battle. Oh man, there's a Starly. That is not Blastoise. Bam. Looks almost identical to how it looked in Sword and Shield. I don't know if this is gonna work, but we're going here, to home, to here. I haven't ever transferred, I just kicked something. I haven't ever transferred anything to Legends Arceus, so I don't know how this works. And, oh, look at that. Blastoise just can't go there. Why? Is Blastoise not in Legends Arceus? Is that why? Yeah, alright, well. Blastoise, you're not going to Legends Arceus. Sorry, buddy. So let's move on to our final stop, sending Blastoise to Pokemon Scarlet version. There he is, Blastoise, English. Check the summary. It's not, oh, it does look different in this game though. That is a different model. Okay, I was wrong. What do we have here? Torrent ability, of course. This Pokemon is pretty lax by nature. It seems to travel across space and time to join me from the Johto region. It's impetuous and silly. Does it not have a ribbon? Current ribbon or mark? This Pokemon doesn't have any. I thought if you transferred something over from Ruby version and it touched every game and went to Scarlet and Violet, it had a special like ribbon or mark or something. Maybe I have to talk to an NPC. I don't know. I don't know how marks work. Like, who even is Mark? Okay, let's go fight this Toadscroll. There's Toadscroll. There's Blah. Look at him. Oh, Blastoise looks great in Scarlet and Violet, actually. What the heck? Let's go for Rain Dance. Let's see what Rain Dance looks like. Oh, heck yeah, Blastoise. Fortress, you're about to witness a Terra Blastoise from Yellow version. Terastallize. Oh, boy. Here we go. Oh, that did nothing. And there you have it. There's my Blastoise from Yellow version, transferred up all the way to Scarlet version. This is pretty cool. I have to give a huge shout out to PokeTransporter GB for making this possible. Why does my Switch sound like an airplane? I had to turn my Switch off because it got really loud for some reason. I don't really understand it. But again, thank you PokeTransporter GB for making this possible. Was this worth it? Not really. Was it cool? Yes. Did it make for a cool video? I don't know. You guys tell me. At the end of the day, I just wanted my Blastoise in Scarlet and Violet, and we did that.